Alright, it says I'm live, so if you guys can hear me, let me know. I see there's a lot of people in here already, over 100 people, so just let me know if you guys can hear me. I'll pop out the chat and we will get talking. And there's a lot to talk about now with the news. Alright, 1 second. Chat's loading, so I can't even see if you guys are talking yet. Alright. What's up? What's up, Andre? Okay, you guys can hear me? Cool. So yeah, we have a lot of news today with Martin Truex Jr. going to the back. He was potentially going to be the highest owned driver on the entire slate. Was looking like he was going to be my highest owned driver. Obviously, there's more risk to that now with him going to the back, but we will talk through it. And yes, let's see. What's up, guys? What's up, Rob? What's up, King, Chandler, Wyatt, Josh, Andre, King? What's up? What's up, Nicholas? What's up, John? Josue's in here. Boldy's in here. Larry's in here. What's up, guys? I'm going to let everyone file in for a little bit here. And then we will get talking. I'm not going to be on here as long as usual because I do have to do a lot of updating on Patreon because of the Truex situation, because I thought I had everything ready to go. Apparently that's not the case because that does change a lot of things, so we will talk about that. But he says hit the like button. Yeah, I agree. Hit the like button. It really helps me out. I appreciate that. Someone said free Truex. Yeah, that sucks. I was really all about Truex today. It was one of my favorite plays, if not my favorite play in the entire slate at that price tag. Oh, Juliana's here, my girlfriend. Welcome in. Chris says get on the like button. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I think the question I'm going to get a lot is Truex scored from the back or is he scored from 9th place? And the answer to that would be he is scored from 9th place. On pace laps, he's just going to drop to the back with Matt Kenseth, and he's going to start the race off with negative points. But the thing is with Truex, he can get back up there. He's done that earlier this season. I believe I don't remember if it was Las Vegas or not, but he did drop to the very back, and then he actually ended up getting up front at one point. So I don't think Truex is an absolute fade now. I mean, he crushes Kentucky. It's one of his best tracks. And also with the rain this time, with the rain scheduled for today, this might end up being a night race, and Truex really excels in night races. And plus, he can do some strategy on pit road to get up front. So I don't think he's a complete fade, but you definitely should lower your ownership on him. And I think people are going to jump ship on Truex just because he's starting in the back. So I think this does make him a pretty solid tournament option because if he's only 9,200, he's starting 9, so there's still some PD upside, and it would not surprise me if he still ends up getting a top 5. I mean, there's plenty of time to make up that from him dropping to the rear. So I still think Truex is okay. Obviously not the best play in the slate anymore, but he's still in consideration for me. But I do think a lot of people are going to jump to guys like Brad Keselowski, maybe Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney in that price range. But I could see Brad Keselowski getting an ownership bump just because Truex is 200 more, so it's pretty easy to drop down to Keselowski. And he's starting 6th, so you get a little bit of PD upside. He's a cheap Dominator, and he's been good at Kentucky, so I think it makes sense. A lot of people will jump from Truex to Keselowski today, which I can definitely see my Keselowski ownership bumping up as well because it just makes a lot of sense. So let's see. Good morning, Sarah. What's up, G Falls? What's up, Rob? Okay, so the guys I think are going to be chalky in the slate. I'm not going to be on live too long today because I have a lot of updating to do, and I got to make lineups and redo my lineups. So I've been locks at 250, so we don't have a ton of time here, and I do want to get my information out on Patreon. But guys I think are going to be really high on the slate. I'm just going to list them off. If you guys want my in-depth breakdown or thoughts on these guys, you can watch the preview video. But guys I think will be pretty chalky: Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch. I mean, Kyle Busch should be... I did think Truex was going to be the highest owned driver in the slate, but I can now see that being Kyle Busch just because... Well, I already thought he was going to be really high owned. I think him and Truex were going to be the highest owned drivers, but now with Truex going to the back, he's 10,100. He's starting on the pole. I mean, he's just been so good at Kentucky. Arguably his best track in the entire series. Absolutely crushes this. I mean, he's won here multiple times, and look, there's a good chance he can lead a ton of laps today. Now, the only problem is competition cautions on lap 20 or lap 25. So if he doesn't regain the lead after the competition caution, or just stay in the lead, it could be that could be it for the day with Kyle Busch leading laps, which is an issue. But if he stays out front during after the competition caution, we could honestly see him lead close to 100 laps today and contend for a top 5. So I do expect Kyle Busch to be very high owned. Look, there's no PD upside, and he's not shown a lot of speed this season. But again, he's going to have clean air working in his favor, and we've seen how important clean air is at these types of tracks. So yeah, Kyle Busch should be really chalky. Ryan Blaney, I'm not sure what his ownership's going to be. I've seen quite a few people talking about him. I know earlier on in the week, I think when I posted my video on Thursday, I absolutely loved Ryan Blaney starting 11th. He should have some PD upside. Honestly, he could win the race. Brad Keselowski should be pretty high owned today. As for your dominators, I think Logano should be a little bit lower owned just because he's starting right. A ton of sense to stack the front row, so I can see Joey Logano being your pivot off of Kyle Busch. He should honestly be half the ownership, if not even more than that. So your chalk dominators, I guess I kind of forgot to talk about Kevin Harvick. So chalky should be Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski. I think the tournament options are going to end up being Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, and then I guess you could put Truex in that category now since he's going to the rear. Popular place differential guys, I think you're looking at Jimmy Johnson, Tyler Reddick, and then I think your more tournament pivots off of that would be William Byron and Eric Jones. I know a lot of people do not want to play Eric Jones these days just because he keeps screwing us, but look, he's in a really good spot. He crushes Kentucky, starting 16th. He's 8,400. This should keep his ownership decently low. He's not going to be the chalk of all chalk this time around like he usually is almost every single slate. I could see him coming around 20%. If you're a little bit overweight on that, I don't mind that at all. And then I'm kind of just jumping all over the place, but the Truex news kind of has me scrambling a little bit, so I'm just trying to grasp this really quick. What? Someone said my connection isn't good. Is my connection not good? If it is, let me know. But someone said over under 50 Truex questions. Probably going to be over. I think that's what everyone's going to ask. But I could just keep going through this, but just chalk guys down here. Ryan Newman should be very high owned, and Michael McDowell. And then Austin Dillon. Actually, I think he's going to have some decent ownership. Cole Custer as well. But I'm kind of just going all over the place. And I think I'm just going to answer some questions. I mean, I probably skipped a couple of guys, but if you guys want the whole breakdown on this video, I mean, this news changed, but kind of just want to answer some questions here. I've probably said this multiple times already in my other video, so let's just answer some questions. I don't been here too long just because I need to do a lot of updating because of the Truex news. So if you have questions, please let me know. I'm going to scroll up a little bit, and I'll start answering some questions. All right, let's see. Tony says, where do you think Truex will finish? I still think he's going to finish inside the top 10, and again, he's only 9,200 starting 9th, so I don't think he's a bad play, but he's just not like a lock like he was prior because, you know, he's going all the way from the back. And Nicholas just said he's from Canton, Ohio. I'm very, very close to you, Nicholas. Very, very close. So appreciate that. What's up, Matt? Nick says, thoughts on fading Harvick? I don't think that's the smartest thing to do. Now, he's not like some lock because he's starting 10th or back or he's on the pole. But starting 3rd, he's still got the number 1 pit stall. There's a good chance he can get a front lead laps in this race. Now, Kentucky has not been his greatest track in the world. I believe he only has 1 top 5 here in the past 9 races in his career. But he still has one of the best average running positions, 3 top 10s, he's top 5 in average DK points per race. And he's just been so good this season. He's second in average green flag speed, second at the 1.5 mile tracks, but second since the restart. Yeah, so Kevin Harvick, he should be a contender today. I mean, that first pit stall, I forget what race it was, but it just absolutely crushed for Kevin Harvick, and I could see that being the case again. And if he gets out front, it's going to be hard to pass Kevin Harvick because we've seen how hard it is to pass the leader in this package. So I don't really want to fade Kevin Harvick today, and I think he's a guy that's probably going to be around 25 to 35% owned. So if you want to be a little bit underweight, I get that because there's no PD upside, and he's got Kyle Busch and Joey Logano right in front of him, but I do think that first pit stall could do him wonders. Let's see where we at. Gerald says, is this track hard to pass? It's really hard to pass the leader, but I still think if you're just asking about Truex, he can get up front. He's got a good car. Let's see. Rob says top 3 cash plays, top, middle, bottom. So I think in the top, you're probably looking at Kyle Busch. He's on the pole, and if he leads around 80 to 100 laps today, you're going to want him in your lineups. And then for the middle, you're probably looking at a guy like Tyler Reddick. I mean, he's starting 24th. He's 8,200. He's crushed the 1.5 mile tracks this season. He should be pretty safe. He should honestly gain around 10 to 12 spots today. So I think Tyler Reddick should be pretty high owned. 8,200 is a fair price tag, and he's starting 24th, so there's a lot of spots to move up. And then for the cheap, you're looking at Michael McDowell. He's going to be very high owned today, or Ryan Newman. Newman's 6,100, starting 23rd. He's got an average finish of 13.8 here. And then Michael McDowell starting 30th, and he's just been getting top 20s pretty much all season long. He's way too cheap, and he just scored a whole bunch of points last week, so that's going to bump his ownership up as well. But he's going to be very high owned. So I think you're looking at like McDowell, Reddick, and Kyle Busch, just some popular plays in each price range there. Wyatt says, does Kentucky have lights? It does, and I could see this being a night race, and it's usually a night race here on Saturday nights. G Fowl says, anyone like Nemechek as a cheap play? I do. I think he's actually a pretty good pivot off of Michael McDowell chalk. Look, he's 5,300. He's starting 22nd. If you're looking at John Nemechek's numbers this season at 1.5 mile tracks, he's got an average finish of 19.5. And again, that's not many spots moved up. But if you're going to get a top 20 at 5,300, that's not too bad at all. So I think John Nemechek is a decent pivot off of Michael McDowell, and I don't expect him to have too much ownership. I could see him coming around 20%, but Michael McDowell honestly might come in over 40% owned. So that would be a decent tournament pivot. Let's see. Zachary says, doing projections now. I need to update on Truex projection. I dropped him in mine personally, quite a few points, just because it's going to be tough for him to dominate this race, and I was expecting him to get up front and dominate. Now it's going to be pretty rough, so we're kind of hoping for a top 5 finish, maybe pick up some fast laps, but definitely lowered his projection. Eric Miller says, Harvick, McDowell, or Austin, Dillon, and Elliott? Well, I think McDowell is the way you want to go in cash games, so I'm going to go Harvick, McDowell, but I really do like that Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott for tournaments. Cameron says, hello. Hello, Cameron. Purist says, Kyle Busch and Blaney, or Logano and Elliott in cash? I go with Kyle Busch and Blaney just because I much prefer Kyle Busch in cash than I do Logano, but I do think Logano is an excellent tournament option there. Michael says, what's going on with Bowman lately? Started the season so hot and was always one of the fastest cars. So the thing with Bowman is, and I probably should have talked about him like a couple of minutes ago, but again, this isn't going to be as long as a live stream as usual, but Bowman is a guy that excels at these 1.5 mile tracks, and we have not been at a 1.5 mile track in quite a while, and he kind of struggles at the other tracks, but we're going back to his wheelhouse, and he has struggled at Kentucky. But if we're looking at his numbers at 1.5 mile tracks, he's actually been one of the best, and he's actually averaging the second most laps led per race here, or actually third, but this season he's got the second most. So if we're looking at 2020 at 1.5 mile tracks, he's got an average running position of 9.3, the second most laps led at 43, and he's also top 4 in fast laps. So this is a kind of track that works in Bowman's favor, and he's only 7,400 today. I think that's a complete mispricing. Even if he doesn't dominate this race and he gets a top 5, you're not going to be too... he's not going to kill you, I should say. And I actually think he's a really, really good tournament option. I'm not sure what his ownership's going to be, just because people, I don't know, I feel like they're kind of off the Bowman train. But if you're just looking at his statistics at these types of tracks, he's excelled. And you had a fast car earlier in the season when we were at these types of tracks. That average green flag speed has dropped since we're not at his type. But now that we are, if he gets up front, I believe it was it Darlington or Charlotte? His team took 2 tires, and then he ended up getting up front and dominating the race. I think it was Charlotte, and I could see that happening again. So I do think Bowman's in a nice bounce back spot this week. Conscious is in here. What's up, Conscious? Cameron says, Truex to the back. Yep. Smokin says, what's up, Chris? Don't think I'll be fading MTJ, because the last 2 times I've done that after him going to the rear, it bit me every single time. I'll pass on the bite marks. I agree. I don't think you should fade Truex now. I'm lowering my ownership on him, just obviously because he's going to the rear, and obviously it adds risk to it, but he still should be fine. Now, he's not like some lock smash play, but he can still get a top 5. I mean, he's got a good car. He's in the auto owner's paint scheme, which seems to work in his favor. And also, if this race goes to nighttime, Truex is the guy that really excels at nighttime. Let's see. King Page says, thoughts on Byron and his history at similar tracks. I actually like Byron today. They're running the same type of tires they ran at Las Vegas, and I believe Byron was second in average green flag speed at Las Vegas. I'm pretty sure. And if we're looking at his average green flag speed at these track types this season, he's actually 6th in average green flag speed. So I do like William Byron today. If we're looking at his numbers at 2020, he's got an average running position of 15.3 at 1.5 mile tracks. But if you're looking at the past 10 races, he actually has 4 top 10s, 1 top 5, one of the best average running positions of 12.7, and starting 21st. I think Byron's an excellent play today, so I do like him. I don't think his ownership's going to be as high either. What's up, Robbie? Okay, you guys said my connection's good. Okay, that's good. Hopefully it doesn't go out like last time. That was awful. All right, where are we going? Sorry, my chat went all the way down, so. Okay, Dicey says, are you okay with fading Logano if you're playing 25 lineups? I feel like if you're playing 25 lineups, you should still get Logano in a couple. I mean, he could have won the race last year, but if it wasn't for a late caution, and he's really good at these types of tracks. He was also really good at Vegas, which is the same kind of tire they're using again. So I wouldn't feel comfortable completely fading Logano in 25 lineups, even though he's not my favorite driver today because he's starting second right beside Kyle Busch. But if he beats Kyle Busch on the jump, you're going to be kicking yourself if you don't have Logano. Conscious says, I've never ended a race with an adjustment up to my score. Oh, you mean like after like they up your score? Yeah, it seems to dump mine as well. Matt says, JJ, McDowell, or Priest, Jones, and Cash. I would go with Jimmy Johnson and McDowell there. Just some more PD upside. Michael says, Austin Dillon or Cole Custer better play. Cole Custer's the safer play there. I think Austin Dillon's like a solid tournament option because if we're looking at his numbers at 1.5 mile tracks this season, he's got an average finish of 9th, which is actually pretty incredible. But I would say Custer's the better play just because he's starting 29th in really good equipment and he's pretty safe. But I really do like Austin Dillon in tournaments today. Danny says, ideal ownership percentage on Truex now. Well, originally I was going to have around 45 to 55% Truex. I think you might want to cut that in half for being honest. So I don't know, it's kind of just personal preference there, but I'm definitely lowering my Truex ownership. Justin says, mid-range build intriguing today. You got to be playing Bowman in there because you got to have Dominators today. You can't skip out on Dominators, so you can't just go straight mid-range. Unless you mean like the 9K range if you think that's mid-range. But, I mean, that could work, but you got to make sure you have Dominators in there. John says connection is great. Okay, that's good. Maybe it's just some people. Darren says, are you going to factor in a weather-shortened race in your lineups? Example, more Dominators who will not need to work through the field. I am not, because if you're looking at the forecast, it's supposed to be clear after 7, and they have lights at this track, so it shouldn't be rain-shortened. If anything, it'll just be delayed to start. Dave says, 294 watching, 80 likes, Taurus. Yeah, if you haven't already, leave a like. It really does help me out. I appreciate that. And sorry if I seem a little scrambled today, but the Truex news right before I went live kind of got my head in a spin a little bit because I'm trying to just think of how this slate's going to shape up now. No Sleep says, how you feeling about Kyle Busch today? He is past due. I like Kyle today. I'm just concerned with what's going to happen at the competition caution because literally anything can happen there. But if he keeps the lead after the competition caution, he should be one of the best plays on the slate because he could lead. I mean, if he leads around 80 laps or 100 laps today, I mean, he's going to get the job done. So I do like Kyle. I'm just really nervous about the competition caution. I'm not trying to go way over the field on Kyle. I'm kind of just trying to be right on par with the field on his ownership because, look, he hasn't had the best car this season. He has been getting faster. He's top 5 in average green flag speed. But if you're looking at his numbers at 1.5 mile tracks this year, he's 10th in average green flag speed. But he also hasn't been able to start in the pole yet, and clean air is huge. So this should work in Kyle Busch's favor. And he also has an empty pit stall right in front of him, which could help as well. Brady says, Chris. What's up, Brady? He says, favorite play under 7K. Favorite play under 7K. Well, point per dollar wise, you're probably looking at Michael McDowell. He's 5,700. So I guess that's my favorite. Wyatt says, Harvick has first pit stall. He does. That could definitely benefit him. Alfred says, how's your feelings about Priest and Ty Dillon? I'm not really on them too much this week. I like Priest more than I like Ty Dillon. So where are they priced at? So Ty Dillon's 6,700. He's starting 33rd. Priest is 6,300. He's starting 32nd. Ty Dillon has actually kind of sucked at the 1.5 mile tracks this season. If we just look at his numbers, he's got an average finish of 24, an average running position of 25.4. Priest has got an average running position of 22.7. He's also a little bit cheaper. I don't love both because I think there's better options like Newman and Michael McDowell below him, better point per dollar options. Then you also have Austin Dillon mixed in there as well. So I'm not really high on either. If I had to pick one, I'd go with Ryan Priest just because he's a little bit cheaper. Conch says Custer under 7,000. Yeah, I mean him, Michael McDowell, Austin Dillon, they're all really good plays. And Ryan Newman down there. Let's see. Casey says, should I move Truex ownership to JJ, Kess, or Byron? Well, I feel like you played Truex because he can dominate the race, so I feel like you should probably mix him in with some other Dominator, so maybe Keselowski. I mean, I feel like a lot of my ownership from Truex will fill in the Keselowski and guys around that price range. Landon says, my man Chris, what is up? What's up, Landon? Go Chase today. No rain today, please. Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of Chase today. I will have a lot of ownership on Chase. He's been really good at the 1.5 mile tracks this season. He's first in average green flag speed. I mean, he's just crushed these 1.5 mile tracks. So definitely like Chase in the rain. I feel like we might have a night race. Again, I'm just looking at the forecast on the weather app. It's nothing too in depth I looked at, but it looks like it could be a night race today. Drew says they're adding more traction compound to the inside line, so it might not be as hard to pass as it was in the other series. It's possible. You never know. It's going to work out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does. But yeah, let's see. Ryan says, "Hey Chris, any word on first caution yet?" It was either lap 20 or lap 25. I can't remember exactly, but 80 laps on the stage, and then competition cautions 20 or 25. Brian says, "Will the rain affect the compound on the track, especially since there was 4 races already at this?" It could. I mean, I'm not like an expert on the traction compound, but I really don't think it's going to be a huge factor today. Conscious says, "Get that thumbs down out of here." Yeah, it happens. Don't worry. Let's see. Wyatt says, "How much Eric Almirola?" Not much. I'll probably have around 5 to 8, 5 to 10%, right around there. Not too high on Eric today. But he has been racking up top 5, so I'm not going to fade him, especially because he's only 7,300. But he's in a really bad starting spot. Tony says Reddick or Almirola. If you're asking who I'd want to pick between those two, it would be Tyler Reddick because he's starting 24th. Dustin says Hamlin, Rowdy, McDowell, Kurt Busch, Kess, Priest. Yeah, that looks fine. I don't mind that at all. Andre says Bowman or Almirola. I'll go with Bowman because I think Bowman's more likely to dominate than Eric Almirola. Jeard says, "Anyone going to the back? I missed start of the stream." Yes, Martin Truex Jr. and Matt Kenseth are going to the back today. Bobby says, "Any love for Newman?" Yeah, Newman. I think he's going to be one of the more popular plays on the entire slate. He's 6,100. He's starting 23rd. It's been a good track for him. He's got an average finish inside the top 15. I expect him to be pretty high owned. Last week, I think he was starting 14th, and he was around 30% owned, close to it. So, I mean, now he's starting 23rd at 6,100. I mean, he should be pretty high owned today. Alon says winner outside of Hamlin and Harvick. A winner outside of Hamlin or Harvick. I mean, I think Chase Elliott, Blaney, Kyle Busch could all make some noise today. But, I mean, Chase Elliott's been arguably the best car at 1.5 mile track, so it would not surprise me if Chase Elliott wins. Albert says single bullet and a $1 20 max 40,000 GBP. Logano, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Newman, Stenhouse, and Almirola. I was thinking Bell instead of Harvick just because Bell may be lower owned. You could do that. I don't mind it. You have a lot of guys starting up front, so you don't have barely any PD upside there, but that will make you more unique. And I mean, it's not my favorite lineup in the world, but it's definitely going to be low owned. And Christopher Bell should be really low owned today. He's definitely going to be lower owned than Kevin Harvick. Harvick should come around close to 30% today. I think Bell's probably going to be below 10%, just looking at ownership projections. So it's okay. It's not my most favorite lineup in the world, but it can work. Cameron says Penske stack viable. Yeah, that's fine. Logano, Keselowski, Blaney, I think those guys are all in play. It could certainly work out. I'm not going my way to do it, but I might have a lineup or two that have all 3 Penske cars in there. Dominique says best contest on DK in your opinion for NASCAR. It really just depends on how much money you're playing. If you're just playing some 20 maxes, I think that Chrome Horn for $4 20 max is pretty good. It's only $80. If you want to max and you don't want to play the $12, because that's $1,800, you could play the $5 max, which is around $800, so it's fine. Or the single entries, you got the 121, the 50, the 24, 12, whatever. So this depends on how much you're playing today. Let's see. Jordan said if you had 20% Truex before, how much of that would you drop? You might want to cut it in half because it doesn't sound like you were too confident in him prior because you only had 20%, and I'm kind of cutting mine in half, if not a little bit more. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind cutting in half, but I think 20% Truex is still okay. Okay, Robbie says, can someone answer this as the people answered you after, never mind, so I'm not going to waste my time reading it. But yes, he is scored from 9th. Tony says Bowman or Almirola or Reddick. I think Reddick's the best play out of those 3 because he's got the PD upside, but Bowman's the most likely to dominate between those 3, but I still think Reddick's the best play there because he's starting 24th. Cody says Brad MDB or Blaney Custer. I'll go with Blaney Custer. There's just a little bit more PD upside. Not a little bit. There's actually a lot more PD upside. Vince says Hamlin or Elliott. I would go with Elliott there. I think he's more likely to dominate today. Douglas says, what did I miss? Not too much. Just pretty much answering questions today. Spilled. Just because I wanted to make this a shorter live stream, just because I have a lot of updating to do. I got to redo my lineups and stuff. Let's see, how many people are in here? 430, my gosh. Should have made this the best live stream because I think it's the most people I've ever had. But the Truex news really took me for a spin, so I got a lot of updating to do. All right, Wyatt says Cole Custer or Austin Dillon. I will go with Cole Custer there, but I really like Dillon in tournaments just because he's been so good at the 1.5 mile tracks this year. But Custer's obviously a lot more safe. It was a lot safer, I should say. All right, my chat went all the way down, so I got to go back up. Okay. Blake says, how do you feel about Almirola in cash? I would not go there in cash. I think there's better plays today in cash. I would rather, in that price range, I'd rather play Bowman. I'd rather play Kurt. I mean, Almirola is fine today in tournaments, but in cash, I think it's pushing it. There's no PD upside there, and there's a lot of downside. Scott says, if you had to choose Jimmy and McDowell or Reddick and Newman. Ooh, that's a really good question. I think I'll go Reddick Newman. I think there's a little bit more upside there. But it's a really good question, though. Very good question. Cyber says, any Bubba? I have no Bubba today. He is starting 18th. I don't know. It just really doesn't pop out of the page to me. I'd rather play Custer. I'd rather play a couple of guys in the 7K range. There's a lot of good guys in the 6K range, so I don't really see the reason to want to play Bubba too much today. Wyatt says Harvick and Custer versus Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott. Whew. You get a little bit more PD upside with Chase Elliott than you do with Harvick, and Chase Elliott's been the best driver at 1.5 mile tracks this season. But man, that's another good question. You guys are getting smart. Harvick and Custer versus Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott. My gut's telling me Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott, but both are really good options. But you just get a little bit more PD upside with Chase Elliott than you do with Harvick. So, and if Harvick doesn't get the lead today, it's not going to work out at all because he's starting third. He's 11,600. He's got to dominate. Chase Elliott, you get a little bit more leeway because he's starting 8th, and overall he's been better at these types of tracks so far this season. So I'll go with the Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott, but it's very, very close. I'm going to have a lot of lineups with Harvick, Custer, Austin Dillon, and Chase Elliott today. So I like all 4. Douglas says, any Bell? You know what? I'm not playing Bell today. It's not worked out quite a few times, but I just can't play him over guys like Hamlin, Elliott, Busch, Harvick. It just does not make sense to me. He's got an average finish at these types of tracks of around 20th. I can't do it. He's so expensive. Garrett says, are we going to have another rain delay? Probably. I think Brian, the weather guy on Twitter, said there's a 45 to 55% chance for racing today, but there's also light. So I think we're going to race today. It's just going to be later in the day, probably around nighttime. John says OH. Someone says IO. Yep. People from Ohio in here. NXN says best value plays, McDowell, Priest, LaJoy. Yeah, McDowell's the best value play today if we're just talking about the 5K range. Also like John Hunter Nemechek as a pivot off of him just because he's starting 8 spots higher up, but he's been pretty good at the 1.5 mile tracks this season. So my favorite down there in the 5K range is going to be McDowell and Nemechek. James says Jones or Reddick in tournaments. I like Jones better in tournaments. I think Reddick's safer in cash games, but I think people are going to be off Jones just because he's been screwing them, but he's been so good at Kentucky. I think Jones is a really good play in tournaments today. John says, I'm late. Is there a direct pivot off of Truex? Yes, you could go with Keselowski. I mean, they're very similar priced. I mean, I guess that's your direct pivot. Dave said you said Truex going to the back. I did. He is going to the back. Landon says, I think Hendrick cars will be good today. They excel at these 1.5 mile tracks this season. Yeah, for sure. I mean, they've all been fast. Byron, Johnson, Chase Elliott, Bowman. You could definitely use all 4 of them today. King says, JJ or Bell, if price didn't matter. Oh, if price doesn't matter, it's going to be Bell just because he's starting 34th. I assume that's a FanDuel question. Douglas says, what's going on with Truex? He failed inspection twice, so he's going to drop to the rear on pace laps, and he will be scored as 9th. Matt says, thoughts on Bell and cash? I think he's going to be very low owned today. I do not see a lot of people playing Christopher Bell, and I can't tell you to play Christopher Bell over guys like Harvick, Hamlin, Elliott, Kyle Busch, and cash, so I would not recommend Christopher Bell in cash today. He's just not performed that well at these 1.5 mile tracks this year, just overall. FE says, what's up, all? Let's make some money today. I agree. I need to have my guys stop wrecking. Last Sunday, all my guys wrecked. It was insane. Every single one of them, pretty much. Blake says Kyle Busch and Logano or Kyle Busch and Keselowski. So I would not play Busch and Logano together in cash games, but I don't mind Kyle Busch and Keselowski. I think that's actually a pretty decent pairing in cash. Chandler says, would you put both Byron and Reddick in the same lineup? Yeah, for sure. I think that's totally fine. Pecan Pie says you like Keselowski today. I do. I think Keselowski is actually a pretty solid play. Mr. Patrick says, I got that feeling McDowell is going to wreck today and ruin a ton of lineups. It could. I mean, I can't just project wrecks, so I mean, it could happen, but he's been running really well. Conscious says, DraftKings are thieves. They adjust bot lines. Well, I don't know about that, but you never know. Wyatt says, any Ricky Spinhouse today? I don't really want to play Stenhouse today. Maybe if he makes a lineup or two and 150 max, but not going my way to play him. Brian says, how much Almirola would you have? Probably around 5% today. It's just he's in a tough spot. Trent says, Boyer a good spot for Truex? Boyer is, 9,400? You could. There's some PD upside, but I'm not too excited about Boyer today. I'd probably rather play Keselowski. Andre says, night race would be cool. For sure. I really like night races. Plus, I could just relax for the whole day and then enjoy the race tonight. It'd be nice. Boldy says, I bet the same guy dislikes every week. Always one. Maybe. I don't know. They work the same in the YouTube algorithm, though, so it's fine. Let me just see how many people are in here. Still over 400. You guys are awesome. Appreciate that. Really do appreciate that. Eric says, Newman or McDowell for cash games? Well, I'm probably going to end up having more McDowell today, so I'll just go with McDowell, but both are excellent options. But I will stop with McDowell just because he's starting 30th. Michael says, wait, what's the Truex news? Truex is dropping to the rear. He failed tech, and it threw a wrench into the entire slate because I'm pretty sure he was going to be the highest owned driver. So, yeah. Let's see. Chris Austin says, C-Pen, let's head back to the lab. I'm going to have to be getting off here pretty soon. I don't want to make this too long of a live stream because I have a lot to get working to. But Steven says, will Byron top 5 finish today? Probably not, but he should be a top 10 contender. Let's see. Michael says, so Truex could get PD upside, or you think his car's too iffy? Well, his car's not the problem. He should have one of the best cars in the field today, but the only problem is he's starting in the back, so now he's got to work his way back up, and it could take a while. But I think at the end of the day, Truex should be fine. It's just he's going to have to work pretty hard today to get back up there. I don't think he's going to dominate. Effie says McDowell will be very chalk today, for sure. He's going to be probably one of the highest owned drivers on the slate. Andre says Team Penske. Yeah, I like pretty much everyone. Ryan Blaney, Brett Keselowski, Joey Logano. They're all fine today. Dude Perfect says Byron or Reddick. Reddick's a bit safer, so I'll side with Reddick just because he's starting 24th, but I like both. But Reddick does grade out a little bit better in my projections. Robert says best value play. I would say Michael McDowell. Josh says, what do you think of this lineup for a large field tournament? Harvick, Hamlin, Jones, Dillon, Custer, McDowell. That's good. You got 2 Dominators in Harvick and Hamlin. You got Jones, Austin, Dillon, I'm assuming. 2 guys that can finish pretty high. Then you got Custer for some PD upside, and then McDowell. I think that's really good. I would be surprised if I don't have that lineup today. Dustin says Almirola or Matty D in single GPP. I'll go with Almirola just because he's been running very well recently. Robert says Custer, anyone? Yes, love Custer today. Michael says Reddick, Byron, or Keselowski, Kurt Busch. Well, you have a Dominator mixed in. I think Reddick, Byron's safer between those two because they got the PD upside, so I'll go with that. Brandon says, are you fading Bell? Yes, and when he top 5s, I'll probably get mad about it and tweet again. It seems like it happens every week. I fade him, he hits a ceiling, gets a top 5. I don't know, that's just how it works. Gerald says Bowman, Byron, Hamlin, Kurt, Eric Jones, and Stenhouse. That works in tournaments. So you got Bowman as a Dominator, Hamlin as a Dominator, Kurt could contend for a top 10, Eric Jones could contend for a top 10, Stenhouse. Yeah, I mean, that's really your big tournament option there, but I think that's fine. Okay, how many questions are here? Oh my. Okay, I'm not going to be able to answer all these questions because I do get out of here sooner than usual, but let's see. If I miss your question and don't answer it, it's nothing personal. It's just, I do have to get out of here. Andre says you should start a podcast. So I actually, funny you say that. Yesterday, so last week I had someone comment on my YouTube video that they'd like an audio version of this. And yesterday I was just playing around and I actually made a Spotify podcast account and actually did upload the audio version of this YouTube video prior to Spotify. So if you look up my name on Spotify, you can actually find the audio version of the YouTube video. So if you guys are like on the go and you don't want to have YouTube open, you can use it on Spotify. So if you want to check it out, you can. You can hit the follow button on there, but it's just something I put out there. I'm not even sure how up to date I'll keep with it. But if it gets a decent following, yeah, I'll keep doing it. But just mostly care about YouTube. Okay, let's see. Effie says, Chris, 440 people watching? Yeah, that's pretty wild. I think it's the most we've ever had. I do appreciate people tuning in. Travis says people dump on Almirola, but he has top fives in the last 5 races. Yeah, I mean, he's been running really well. Like, I'm going to sprinkle him in today, but again, he's starting 4th. It's a little bit of a tough spot, and you can't really keep banking on Almirola to keep getting top 5 finishes. I mean, you got guys like Harvick, Hamlin, Elliott, Busch, Blaney, Logano. I mean, all those guys you would expect to finish above Almirola, just on average if you just base it into projections, but he's been running really well. He's probably going to lose spots today, but if he can stay inside the top 10, it's not going to be the worst play in the world. John says, great show, efficient as always, brother. Thanks for the quick content. Good luck today. Appreciate that, John. Thank you very much. I'm going to get out of here around 12:40, guys, so we got about 5 more minutes. I do apologize that it's going to be shorter than usual, but again, I've got a lot of updating to do. And locks at 2:50 today, and it's earlier than usual. Dumont says, just got here. Great content. Favorite cheapie. Appreciate that. And that would be Michael McDowell. 5,700 should be very popular today. Andre says you wouldn't play Bell in one lineup. Personally, I'm not today. It might be stupid, but you know what? Screw it. I'm not playing Bell today. But I guess the more responsible answer there would be you should maybe sprinkle him in. But just personally, you guys can tell I don't like Bell. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to scroll down, answer a few more questions, and then we will have to get out of here. Let's see. Mad Dog says, Kurt Busch or Eric Jones? I think that's a really good question. I will go with Eric Jones. I know he's a little bit more expensive, but he's starting 16th. He's got an average finish at Kentucky at 5.3, 3 top 10s, 1 top 5. Look, I know he's screwed a lot of you for the past couple of months now, but he's usually running inside the top 10, then he gets a loose wheel, someone cuts his tire, things happen like that. It's out of our control. It's out of Eric Jones' control. If all goes well today, I'd be very, very shocked if he doesn't get a top 10. Very, very shocked. Did someone just donate? Oh, well, thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. $5. You don't have to do that, but thank you. Did you ask a question? I don't think you did. Well, I do appreciate that. If you had a question, I'll answer it. Let's see. Howard says, Josh Bilicki, no. I'm not playing anyone like that today. Brandon says, would you play Blaney and Hamlin in the same lineup? Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, they had the most PD upside for the guys starting inside the top 12 Dominator group, so yeah, I don't have any problems with that. Let's see. Someone asked about how Truex going to the back affects that for DFS. Thomas says less likely to lapse. I agree. I still think Truex can contend for a top 5 today, and he's only 9,200 starting 9th, so it won't kill you, and I think it's fine. It's just much tougher path for Truex today because, I was going to say clean air is king, but he's not going to have clean air. What I'm trying to say, starting position, it's going to be pretty important today. So, but Truex should be able to get up front at some point. It might have to be done on pit road, but I still think he'll be okay. It's just a tougher path for him today. Appreciate that, FE. Let's see. Nixter says Busher finishing position, probably anywhere from 15th to 20th today, and he's starting, 14th? No, he's starting 13th, so it's going to be a tough spot for Chris Busher today. I really don't have much interest. Let's see. Answer a couple more questions, then we'll get... Mickey says it's all personal. No, it's not. Let's see. William says if they run during the day, you can throw out past stats out the window considering they usually run night race at Kentucky. I mean, you shouldn't throw it all out the window, but that definitely would make a difference. But I do think we could get a night race today, so it might actually just work out in our favor if you're just looking at recent track history. But I've been kind of relying on the 1.5 mile tracks in 2020 and the past 10 races of 1.5 mile tracks more than the Kentucky statistics anyway, so let's see. Gerald says, how come no one is mentioning Suarez? Well, Suarez, if you're looking at his recent track history here, yeah, it's pretty darn good, but he was also in really good equipment back then, Stewart-Haas equipment. Now he's not. He's in the 96 car. It's very slow. This season he's got an average running position of around 30th. That's probably right around where he's going to finish, so not really too excited about Suarez, even though he's cheap. And if you're looking at last week at Indy, he pretty much only did that well because of all the wrecks, and he just stayed alive. I mean, really the name of the game last week was staying alive and avoiding wrecks. Steven says, hit the like button for this man. I do appreciate that. All right, it's 12:40, guys, so I am going to get out of here. I will answer, like, a few more questions. Austin Dillon or Ty Dillon? I'll go with Austin Dillon. He's got an average finish inside the top 10 this season at these types of tracks, so I would decide with Austin Dillon there. Ty Dillon has actually really struggled with these so far. Someone said, Daniel Suarez is in a lawnmower. Yes, he is in a lawnmower. I forgot to say that joke. I usually always say it. Appreciate that, dude. $5. Did you ask a question? You did? Oh. Okay, well, if you guys do donate, I will answer your question 100%, but do appreciate the donations. You don't need to do that, but always much appreciated. But I am going to get out of here, guys. Sorry I'm going to cut this live stream short today, and we didn't really, this is pretty much a Q&A today, but the Truex news really has got me scrambling a little bit. I got to do some updating, so do appreciate everyone stopping by. If you want to check out my preview video, I posted that on Thursday. You can feel free to check that out. You can follow me on the socials if you want. You can hit me up on Patreon, get my Discord, all that good stuff, but I'm going to head out. If you have any questions, you can comment on the YouTube video after it re-uploads, and I'll try to answer you, or you can hit me up on Twitter, but I will be pretty busy. Thank you all for stopping by, and best of luck, and hopefully not all of our guys don't wreck again, because that sucked. It was brutal. All right, see ya.